Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Tubi. And real quick before we get into this, if you could do me a favor and hit that like button, because that really does help this channel out so much. So for those of you not familiar with this channel, once a week I go searching through the popular streaming platforms and come up with 10 horror movies to recommend to you guys. This week I went searching through Tubi and came up with 10 horror movies that I'm sure you'll enjoy. And with that, let's get to the list. Alright, kicking this list off is a movie called Orphan.
Adopting an older child is not an easy decision.
My name is Esther.
Why aren't you down at the party?
I've never really seen the point of it. I guess I'm different.
There's nothing wrong with being different, you know.
So Orphan is a fantastic movie. It's a very well produced, polished movie with a lot of really superb acting in it. Just the lead in general, she is fantastic. I love the overall mood and how it slowly builds into this dread and confusion as it just builds into this crescendo and you're like, oh my god. Like when the spoiler kind of thing happens towards the end of this movie, it's fantastic. I remember the first time I saw it and I did not see it coming. And man, does it blindside you if you don't have any idea, like me, of what the twist in this movie is.
I think there's something wrong with Esther. We need to know what we're dealing with. Trouble does have a way of finding her.
There's a good chance that you've already had this movie spoiled, even if you haven't seen it, but I think it's such a well done movie in so many ways that just builds into this really terrifying situation that I think it's, no matter what, still worth you checking out.
That's the story of, that's the glory of love.
Esther? Next up, we go to Candyman.
Candyman.
It's just a story.
Candyman.
Candyman.
Just a ghost story.
Candyman.
So the brand new Candyman just dropped a few weeks ago, and I did a full review of it if you want to check that out. But I was one of the ones that really enjoyed it. Yes, it has flaws, and after the fact, I definitely recognized the different issues and stuff that were going on in this movie. But just in general, I still think it's a great movie that looks beautiful and all that. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the OG Candyman. And as much as I really enjoyed this new sequel, reboot, whatever you want to call it, Candyman, there's nothing like the original. To me, it is a horror masterpiece. Tony Todd is at his absolute best in this film. The pacing, just the overall mood in this movie, it's beautiful, and it is a strange and yet twisted, weird love story.
Who is that?
I came for you.
Like I've always said, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. So if you happen to see the new one and hadn't seen the original Candyman, do yourself a favor and check it out. No matter what, even if you've seen the original, it's great for a rewatch. It's just such a fucking cool movie. So I definitely, highly, cannot stress more how much I recommend this movie. So please do yourself a favor and check it out.
Candyman, you don't have to believe. Just beware.
So now we go to Exorcist 3.
Death be not proud, nor canst thou kill me.
So this is a movie that sadly got kind of lost in the shuffle because everyone was a huge fan of the original Exorcist. It was one of the hugest horror hits ever, right? But sadly, the sequel was so bad that it just kind of killed the interest in the franchise in a lot of ways. And so when this third Exorcist movie came out, it just didn't get the buzz it deserved, and even still to this day, still doesn't get the buzz it deserves. Yes, granted, it has started to have this really cool following that is starting to really, give love to this flick, but I still don't think it nearly gets what it deserves.
Inside a man. Who are you? I am no one. A man we thought had died 17 years ago.
It is so well acted, directed, produced, the mood, the lighting. It has one of the greatest jump scares of any movie ever done. And I know this isn't popular opinion, but I personally enjoy Exorcist 3 more than I do the original.
He is inside! side with us. He will never get away.
Not saying it's a better movie per se, not saying it's better in any way necessarily except for my own enjoyment, and I personally just enjoy this movie more. It is just a movie that is so underrated that every time I see it on one of these platforms, I have to give it a nod, so that's why it's on this list.
This time you're going to lose. The real terror is back. George C. Scott in William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 3.
Next up, Stripperland. Bad movie of the week.
Rule number 8. Strippers love heels. It's like a dead giveaway.
What's with the rules? Rule number 55, you're an idiot.
Alright, so this is the bad movie of the week, and damn it if this movie isn't a pile of crap. But it's another one of those bad movies that's just so much fun. There is just cheese everywhere. I mean, how can you go wrong with zombie strippers? That's always a lot of fun, and it's definitely on display in its full gory, goofy, cheesy goodness in this movie.
Widespread reports that women are inexplicably tearing off their clothes and seeking to commit murder.
It's just a fun, shitty movie that I think, once again, like I always say with the bad movies of the week, get some beers, get some friends, and laugh and have a good time and watch this movie with that in mind. This is not a quality movie. This is a bad fucking movie, but it's a great bad movie and one that I think you'll definitely have fun with. All right, next up is the first part of my double feature weekend, and that would be Valentine.
I got a Valentine the other day. It was awful. Someone saying that they were going to kill me. And it was signed JM.
So Valentine is one of those late 90s, early 2000s movies that are shitty in so many ways. They're like too plasticky and overproduced, and the gore just doesn't look quite right. They have a lot of teen hotties that are annoying. It's just got all those things that are awful, but yet in a lot of ways, at least personally, I love those things. They make it cheesy, but in a fun way. They're that era of horror movies that I know aren't good, but yet for some reason, there's something I absolutely still love about them. And Valentine is one of the ones that's kind of been forgotten in a lot of ways. And I think Valentine is actually decent. Yes, it does have that shitty stuff on it, which does kind of make it into that category like I was talking about. But I still think it's actually pretty cool in traditional horror ways as well. I love the mask. It's a very cool and unique and yet eerie and creepy in a way mask.
Hello?
There's just some unique story twist in this. Just in general, it's not as bad as I think it's gotten talked about and treated as. It's actually a cool movie, and one that if you've never checked out Valentine, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, especially if you're someone like me who has a soft spot for those late 90s, early 2000s cheesy teen slasher movies. Then this is one you should definitely check out. All right, next up is the second part of my double feature weekend, and that would be House of Wax.
Is anybody?
No, nobody.
Hello?
I don't think anyone's here. Hey, who's that House of Wax?
So House of Wax is another one of those late 90s, early 2000s movies that I've talked about before on this channel. But once again, it's one of these kind of movies like Valentine, and that's why they're paired together this week. It's another one of those teen slashers that just doesn't look great and has these pretty, popular type of teens. And it's got that annoyingness to it as well with some, late 90s, early 2000s CGI that isn't the greatest at times. Just in general, it's another one of those overproduced type of movies. But this one in particular, I feel like has some very cool imagery, some really disturbing imagery.
You're saying that that's a real person underneath?
And some really great little scares. On top of that, Paris Hilton gets killed. I mean, I always say, enough said, right? It's so funny because they actually use that as a way to promote this movie, because that's how much of the time she was just kind of hated in a lot of ways, especially by fans of horror, that people went to see the movie just to watch Paris Hilton get killed. Either way, it's just a lot of fun, especially paired with Valentine. I think you'll be in for a great late 90s, early 2000s teen slasher cheeseball type of night, and I think you could definitely have a lot of fun with these two movies.
What's going on?
All right, next up we go to Jeepers Creepers.
What's he doing?
The hell is that? He dumped something down that pipe.
Wrapped in a sheet.
So this is the 20th year anniversary of Jeepers Creepers coming out, and it happened to be on Tubi, so I was like, that's a great time to kind of give this movie a little love. I understand the whole crap with the director. I never talk about him, never use his name. But to me, it's the other people involved and the art in of itself that I love and enjoy. I could give a fuck about him. But this is just a really great horror movie, and in my opinion, one of the better horror movies of the last 20 years.
What the hell is that thing?
Go, 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 go!
I love the Creeper. His design and look is fantastic, especially in this original movie. The sequel is still pretty good. I'm not a big fan of the third movie, but I am looking forward to this reboot that's supposed to be coming out later this year, early next year, something like that. This is just a movie I'm a fan of, and I do understand if you are one of the people that have boycotted this movie. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. I totally get it. Completely. Me personally, I just want to separate the art from the artist and still appreciate and enjoy this movie for what it does have to offer.
You think he's dead?
They never are.
No!
Jeepers Creepers.
Next up, we go to Odd Thomas.
Ladies, my name is Odd Thomas.
So Odd Thomas is one of those movies that for whatever reason just has never gotten a ton of love in the horror world, but I love it, man. I think it is just an absolute blast. It's one of those movies that is completely meant to be just a roller coaster ride type of movie with nothing serious. Don't take anything too serious, just some little spooks and fun. In a lot of ways, this is just kind of a soft horror movie, but I still love it. It is like almost like a tweener. So if you have like a young teenager, preteen, something like that, this is one that can kind of be an entryway into horror. It doesn't ever go too far with the horror.
Any of those Bodax things around?
Bodax. When they do show up, it's a sure sign that carnage and bloodshed are not far behind.
The star in this, Anton Yelchin, unfortunately passed away, and he is absolutely brilliant in this, just so full of charisma and a blast to watch on screen. Just in general, I think this is a movie that if you've never checked out, it's a great little Saturday night one that you could probably watch with your family because it doesn't ever go too hard into the horror, like I said, but it's also one that I've always felt is just a lot of fun this time of year as we ramp up for Halloween. So that's why it's on this list, and that's why I highly recommend it. All right, now we go to the last movie on this list, and that is the David Fincher film, Zodiac.
Dear editor, this is the murderer of the two teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl on the 4th of July.
I want you to print this cipher on the front page of your paper.
He wants his code in the afternoon edition.
So Zodiac is a fantastic, slow burn, real world type of movie for people who are big fans of true crime and stuff like this. This is a film based on the true life serial killer Zodiac, who was never caught and is still on the loose, and he's a very fascinating study for anyone that's into true crime. I actually lived nearby where he did one of his first killings in Benicia, which is near outside of San Francisco kind of thing. I lived out there for a while, and I've driven by the spot where the bodies were found, and it's just chilling. Just knowing that that's the spot where these people were slain and that Zodiac killer stood, it's just very chilling, gripping, terrifying. This is a dark, slow-paced, absolutely phenomenal movie, but like I said, it's slow-paced. It's a little bit of a slow burn. You have to be into dialogue type of procedural movies to really enjoy and appreciate this one.
Greek, Morse code, astrological signs. This guy's used them all.
I like killing people because man is the most dangerous animal of all.
But if you're into that kind of stuff, there was a series on Netflix called Mindhunters that I'm a huge fan of that has a lot of that same pacing and vibe and feel to it. This is just a can't miss for anyone who's into true crime. So I definitely, highly recommend you guys check this out.
I'm not the Zodiac. And if I was, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
Are you sure there's nobody else in the house?
All right, that's gonna do it for me today. Please leave your comments down below. I love hearing from you guys so much. And if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this at least 2 times every week. And I also want to give a massive, huge, enormous thank you to my patrons, because you guys, yeah, you guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.